Welcome to a deep dive into some of the writing I did on Trouble is My Business. Um, when I'm addressing a modern noir, I wanted you to kind of step into the world of Trouble is My Business. It's an original noir feature. I wrote it with Brittany Powell, and I directed the film, not as a pastiche, but as a kind of modern noir with its own blood-soaked fingerprints. In this video, I just wanted to take you through how the film works, the tropes that we embrace, the character archetypes we reimagine, the structural craft underneath the fedora and the fog. I didn't try to parody noir. We kind of lived in it. A lot of the characters are very witty, and people were surprised by the comedy. But if you look at some of the classics, there are some great, biting, funny scenarios, like in Out of the Past. Um, the quips, Robert Mitchum saying lines like, "Yeah, well, there's a way to lose more slowly," or some of the quips back and forth, the flirting that happens in Double Indemnity.
What's the blood?
Don't worry about it. I'm being evicted.
No. Okay, get that rug. He's bleeding everywhere.
Maltese Falcon, all of them have great, funny lines, and often the characters, I wanted to write them the way Shakespeare would write, in a sort of elevated way with his iambic and his style. There is a blue-collar poetry that is in hard-boiled fiction that I wanted the characters from Drake all the way down to talk in a almost poetic, dark way. The sort of poetry of despair and inevitability and corruption and
Yeah, we like hard workers around here, Mr. Drake.
Yet you're here too, Jonathan.
Touché.
I told Jennifer about the newspaper stories of your disgraceful behavior, Mr. Drake.
Well, you see how I eat.
Mother, please, you're being rude.
I have a certain morbid fascination with failings. It was difficult to mask my delight at meeting you. You probably notice.
No, as you and your daughter keep pointing out, I'm not that good a detective.
I'm not surprised Jennifer sought you out, Mr. Drake. I'm sure you're the only detective she could recollect from my opinions of your failings regarding that poor girl. Catherine is the reader in this family.
Just because you read accusations in the newspaper doesn't make them true.
Yeah, didn't they say that you were the best, Mr. Drake?
My partner Lou would agree with you, Johnny.
Smart man.
Lou MacDonald's integrity seems quite unassailable. Frankly, I'm not surprised he left your partnership. He cuts quite a fine figure of a man in print.
Lou's always been uncompromising when it comes to appearances.
Well, you seem a little more flexible.
he's sort of a knight in rusted armor, was how Dave Beeler and I were talking about him. Dave plays Lou McDonald, his partner, who is about appearances, but ends up being a good guy. Or is he? It's set in a shadow-drenched Los Angeles, as these things are, and Trouble is My Business uses those genre aesthetics, voiceovers, the trench coat, the femme fatales. It's all a launch pad for what I hoped would be a layered narrative. The film doesn't just do a nod to Chandler and Hammett, but it's sort of a brutal love letter that's stained with betrayal and a high body count in this case. The way I approached the writing was I structured the film to feel like it was a ticking clock inside a sealed room. That's sort of what was in my head. The only time we're real time in this, with all the looping flashbacks, which justify him telling the story in voiceover and seeing it in the car, is when we're real time, and then we're always going back loops within loops, because that plays into that this is inevitable. They're literally heading to the cemetery, heading to death, if you will, symbolically, in the car, Lou and Roland. And on the way, he's telling this story of what happened. And we find out that the opening shot is, after all of this has happened, he's asked Lou to pick him up and take him if they get the worst possible news, worst scenario. And we don't find out that that's the case until the very end. Spoiler alert. I'm assuming you've seen the film. If you haven't, stop right now. Click on the link down in the description. Have a look at it. It's there in color and black and white on my YouTube channel. I did both as a conceit for streamers. I love the black and white version, of course, but there is a color version, which I tried to give a distinctive look to as well. I've worked with Mike Smith on that quite a bit to create a look. As noir is a claustrophobic spiral, and the past and the present are kind of collapsing into each other. And the writing methodology was sort of the first person narrative intrusion. That's the internal voiceover that Roland Drake has that reveals the cracks in the sort of hard-boiled mask that he's presenting to all the other characters in the film. And then there's all these layered character arcs. He's not just a detective, he's a study in denial and longing and erosion. And with that elevated pulp dialogue that echoes all the classic noir, he's a little sharper in his self-awareness and his rhythm. There's lines that I'm really make me smile and I'm proud of. She's got a face that would launch 1,000 ships and a body that would bring him back. Says everything about him. Um, Thematic cohesion is really important in a script like this. Like, it's about guilt and identity and fatalism and power and the illusion of escape. Literally, they're trying to escape, he and Jennifer, to a new life. And there's that promise of a new life that somehow you can remake yourself. And I think she believes it too. And it's all embodied in this plot. The characters are sort of the architecture of it. Every character is a mirror or a mask or a knife. Whether it's Jennifer's chameleon-like survivalism or Lou's corrupted idealism, the characters are not moving through a plot. They are the plot. It's not a whodunit as much as a whydunit or a howdunit. Jennifer is the embodiment of noir's deadliest truth, that the most dangerous person is the one who believes their own innocence on some level. Even the villain thinks they're the hero of the story. The final betrayal, of course, is I can be Catherine for you. The ideal, her sister, who he originally was quite taken with. Ironically, that was the bait. In the end, Jennifer's duplicity in replacing her own sister and passing for her after she was already dead. You don't look for somebody you don't know is dead. So back then, because there wasn't an internet and there wasn't the kind of information, somebody dies and you keep it to yourself. I can be Catherine for you, she says. And by the end, Jennifer's duplicity and desire to culminate in a kind of betrayal is what defines noir. She has replaced her own dead sister. And ironically, that sister was the one that Drake fell for originally. And, because there wasn't the flow of information back then, no internet, if somebody died and you didn't tell anybody and you covered it up as well as she did, no one's looking for it. So it was kind of the perfect cover for her. Jennifer at the end kisses Roland Drake, but not with love, but with a knife. And the film resolves in a grave, literally. And Drake's final voiceover sort of goes away. She's framed in a motel doorway, not with triumph, but with that eternal noir companion, the sound of ocean waves that are too far to reach. At the center of Trouble Is My Business isn't a plot or a mystery. It's just this mosaic of characters, each one sort of warped with desire or guilt or ambition. In true noir fashion, these aren't heroes or villains in black and white. They're survivors in shades of gray. I wrote them not just to move the story, but to be the story. Roland Drake, he's the broken compass in this whole thing. Drake is the soul of noir. A man who used to believe in something, maybe justice, maybe himself, but it got lost along the way. And he's a detective. He's better at figuring out people's lies than facing the truth. And he's our narrator, our guide, and ultimately our pawn. He's constantly outmatched by the city and by women and by his own weaknesses. He drinks too much and loves too hard and trusts just a little too late. Drake's not the smartest man in the room, but he might be the last one standing until he isn't. We're closed.
Roland Drake?
Possibly. There's a great line that he says, "In this world, the one who cares more always loses." And Jennifer Montemar's Black Orchid. Jennifer is a noir distilled, beauty, brilliance, buried rage. On the surface, she's the good sister. She's measured and soft-spoken, classy. But the deeper we go, the more the mask slips. She's a master of identity, shifting, surviving, seducing. She doesn't just play roles, she becomes them. Jennifer isn't evil. She's worse. Understandable. She does what she has to do, even when it sort of kills the things she loves. She becomes Catherine, becomes the ghost. And in the end, she kisses Drake with a knife and weeps as she buries it. "I can be Catherine," she says. We can have both. Catherine is sort of the phantom of her. She literally replaces, her dead sister, takes on her persona, which is the bait. It's the way of framing him with someone who's already dead in a murder. She takes his own blood, again, without DNA testing, without being able to find out it's his blood. You see blood, she's missing, there's a knock on the door. Looks like there might have been a murder. And Catherine is the spark, she's Jennifer seducing him. She's like a ghost and disappears and haunts the whole narrative. She exists as a memory for everybody, including Drake, and she becomes his memory after she's already dead, which is kind of wild. Detective Lou McDonald. He's sort of the decaying ideal. Lou was Drake's former partner. He was probably one time also had a moral compass like Drake, but he decided to go with appearances. He's, in modern parlance, you don't want your lawyer pulling up in a Yugo, you want him to pull up in an Aston Martin, just to let you know he's successful. Lou is the detective who chooses the suit in the office and the game. He's sort of a cautionary tale. What happens if you compromise just a little too often and start cashing checks with someone else's blood on them? But he's witty and sharp and dangerous, and the closest thing Drake has to a friend, the one person who knows how far he's fallen. There's something of a spark that's still unbroken in Lou. He's played by David Beeler brilliantly. Dave's an amazing actor. Lou shoots to kill, but he hesitates. He threatens Drake, but he might let him live. As he said, profiting from an unfortunate situation is the only way to stay sane in a city like this. Detective Tate, authority with a body count. It's played by incredible actor Vernon Wells. You know him from The Road Warrior, Mad Max 2, Commando, Inner Space, so many things. He's amazing, and he understands villains. He knows that Detective Tate isn't just corrupt. He's the systemic rot with a badge. He's power weaponized and believes in one thing, control. Anything outside the machine, anyone too honest, too naive, too in love, is a liability. And I wrote Tate as a critique of noir's traditional authority figures, the cop who's never clean but charismatic. Tate, he isn't charming, but he's efficient. He doesn't just cover up murders, he creates them. "She never had to be found," he said to him up there on the rooftop when he's beating Drake. And Evelyn Montemar is the matriarch of malice. Jordana Capra played her beautifully. I had Jordana's voice in my head when I was writing Evelyn with Brittany.
Jennifer doesn't have her own money, Mr. Drake, so you must be working for me.
She did it beautifully. She's wheelchair-bound, emotionally razor-sharp. Evelyn is the cruelty that comes with age and unchecked power. She lives in a mansion built on secrets, and she suffocates both of her daughters with expectations and disapprovals their whole life. I'd say she's part Greek chorus, part prison warden.
Why, Jennifer, I never get such a rise out of you.
She's a tragic figure who insists on control, even from her own grave. She says, it should have been you, not me, in this chair, to her own daughter. And John Shannon, he's the Flash, the preening boyfriend. Jennifer's preening boyfriend's played, of course, by Ben Pace, who's a terrific actor. I was so lucky to get Ben.
Well, that was delicious.
John Shannon's a hollow man in a loud suit. That's how I would describe him. It's the kind of guy who thinks he's playing the game while the real players are moving the board underneath him.
I know. He's dead.
That's right, Eagle Eye. He's dead. Wait a minute. How did...
But he's a distraction. He's a decoy, and ultimately he's disposable to Jennifer. John is what noir does to people. Flatters them, uses them, kills them. Up against a bookcase.
It was the first and last time Johnny ever touched a book.
As he's sliding down, bloody, being shot on the bookcase. Claude Allen, great character. He's the watchful janitor.
Including me.
Good night, Drake. It's a shame what happened.
Claude seems like he's in the background.
You all right in there? We heard something.
He's the eyes of the city. He knows what people say when they think nobody's listening. He sees what gets swept under the rug, literally. And he's a noir staple, you know. There's always the silent observer with a memory longer than a newspaper headline. In the city, well, the city in Trouble Is My Business is Los Angeles. That's who we are. But it's not the real one. It's the mythic one. The city of neon gods and shadows on the sidewalk and half-finished confessions. Everyone in the film is a byproduct of the city's ambition and rot. You know, every character in Trouble Is My Business is chasing something. It's love or revenge, legacy, control, greed. Most of them end up empty-handed or buried. But that's noir. You don't get out clean. You just hope that somebody remembers you weren't always dirty. Thanks for watching. Like and subscribe on the channel. Check out the film if you haven't, and recommend it to somebody if you think it's worth it. Thanks a lot. I'll be back with more.